Is LSE worth it? Is a big question you might have if you're considering going there. I went to LSE for my undergrad. It's now been 5 years and 4 jobs later, so I'm gonna tell you my opinion on whether it was worth it or not. So first in this video, I'm gonna tell you my journey, what I studied and where, for how long, then every job that I've had since, and whether I think it played a role in getting that job that I went to LSE or not. But first, if you're a returning viewer, we've not done this in a while. We're gonna make ourselves not a coffee, but a tea. So getting a bit closer and personal. If you're new here, hi, I'm Anastasia, I'm 27 years old. I'm based in London and I moved to London 10 years ago with the purpose of going to university. So education was the reason that I'm here, and since then I have stayed. LSE was my top choice. It was my dream uni. I was completely attached to the idea of being in London as well. I love London as a city. I did my A-levels in London as well, and then I ended up getting an offer from LSE. I was obviously over the moon, so I did my undergrad there. I did my undergrad in government and economics between 2015 and 2018. Then I graduated and I ended up doing a master's in UCL. I did it in creative and collaborative enterprise, a very weird master's, very experimental, and if you're curious about it, if you scroll a bit further in my YouTube channel, I have a couple of videos explaining what that course is. In terms of my jobs journey, I first got my initial freelance job with a startup, and the startup was located in London. They were doing an educational platform for kids. They're called Highbrow. I worked as an intern with them, and initially I actually got that job through the LSE portal, where you can see job postings that different companies and startups specifically put on there on the LSE portal if they're looking to get graduates or students from the specific university on board. As it turned out, when I joined, they actually only hired LSE people, and that's because one of the founders, the co-founder, he went to LSE and he has just a special attachment to it. So definitely LSE opened that door for me. It's quite obvious. And sometime after as well, I also came back to work with them as a freelancer, which was honestly great. Next up, after my master's at UCL, I landed in a dance company. It's the dance company where I did my dance classes for years and years, and they were looking for an executive assistant exactly when I was graduating from UCL. So things aligned, stars aligned, and I ended up working there. And while I did need to send my CV and my cover letter explaining why I want that position, ultimately that job was about knowing the company, having a very deep interest in what they were doing, and kind of being part of it for a long time already. So that one I'm pretty sure LSE did not play a role in. Next up, I got a job post-pandemic in an art therapy organization called BAT, British Association of Art Therapists. I had an amazing time working with them. They're non-profit and they represent all art therapists in the UK, so they're like a professional membership body. And I was doing marketing and social media for them, and I applied there through the Guardian website. I don't know exactly what made them hire me, but I have a suspicion that LSE played a role in it. I think in this case, LSE did open that door for me, as well as me doing well in an interview. Finally, after that, I landed in consulting. So my consulting is in a Big Four firm, and I do human capital consulting specifically. I've been there for 2.5 years now. And again, the screening process is a bit mysterious. There's definitely no official requirement that you've gone to a particular uni, but I'm pretty sure that having a good uni next to your name might just get you through maybe the initial stage a bit more easily, but only if you tick the other boxes as well. But ultimately, I think with jobs like consulting, unless explicitly stated, I think your uni does not matter beyond the initial screening stages. It matters how you actually do your test results and your case interview, and ultimately what a director or a partner thinks of you at the last stage. If you're curious about the stages of applying into consulting, I have a video about this, and also have a separate one on the last partner/director interview that you might find useful. So again, I think in this case, it may have helped me. I don't think it determined the outcome though. So that's my overview of my life and my professional life specifically. And I'd say it's a bit of a variety in terms of how much I can use my bargaining chip of having gone to LSE, but I definitely think that when applying, I know that having it on my resume puts me in a strong position initially when it comes to just the HR manager screening through a ton of applications. I think it helps, but I don't think that's reflective of the worth of anyone who has not gone to a top-ranked uni, because like I said, I think it's all down to you and the quality of the work you bring and knowledge you have and the skills that you have. And I don't think you should be disheartened at all if you've not gone to a uni that you wish you'd gone to, or if you've not been to a uni at all. So I'm gonna break down aspects where I think it's helpful to have LSE on your resume, and ones where it does not matter at all. Where it does matter. Number one is access to alumni. There are different events like the lectures and talks and different things that they organize where alumni get priority access alongside students. There's also different events for alumni specifically where honestly it's like in-person LinkedIn probably, where people can just meet each other and see if there's some useful connection there that you can build on, whether it's for career purposes or just in terms of friendship. Next up, if you're junior and applying for jobs, I think education still comes up. Probably later in your career when you've been managing people for a while, when you've been leading teams and stuff, I think your work experience will say much more. But if you still don't have as much work experience going for you, then uni is the next thing up that people will be looking at. So having a credible university like LSE might get some doors open for you where it doesn't matter. First of all, I don't think I've used much of my degree in any of my jobs, if I'm completely candid. You learn on the job and you learn the practical stuff that actually matters to doing your job well. It rarely relates to the theoretical stuff that you've learned in your degree, unless your degree, of course, is very practical, in which case, fair enough. But secondly, in terms of getting jobs, again, like I said, I think it opens some doors for you at the initial screening stage. But when it comes to actually getting the jobs, you have to put in just as much work into preparing and just as much work into having a very strong case going for you to be able to actually get that to the final stage of interviews and offers. Finally, the thing that I love seeing at the moment is that there are a lot more apprenticeships and Bright Start schemes now happening at big companies, mine included, where you can just apply straight out of school. So while it's still very common for different places to require you to have a degree, there is also an increasing number of opportunities that don't require it. So it all depends on what you feel would be most useful for yourself at the moment. Those are my thoughts on LSE. I think the conversation about whether it's worth it or not is so much broader than this. I've only touched on one aspect in terms of jobs and getting opportunities, but of course the university experience is much more than that, and I had a great time at LSE. I met some very good friends. I found the Salsa Society, which was my very welcoming home, and I loved it. I got to see so many amazing lectures and talks and be at very cool events, and I really enjoyed my time. It gave me a lot of resilience when it comes to exams and preparing and just being on it with my workload, but also a lot of time to explore London and enjoy it and build up my hobbies. So this is a non-exhaustive conversation. It's so much more than this, and ultimately I'm so grateful to have gone to LSE. I could not have been happier that I have it on my resume, but at the same time, I think there's so many things to consider when it comes to whether something is worth it for you or not, and it's so dependent on personal circumstance, the time you have available, the finances, your immigration situation if you're not from the UK, and visa requirements and a lot of stuff. For me personally, I would say wholeheartedly that it was worth it, but only because I was very lucky and very privileged to have the means to go, and I think it's going to be very different for every person. But I hope some of this was helpful for you to hear, and maybe if you're considering and you're on the fence, it might have given you some more things to think about. If you're curious about anything in particular, again, let me know in the comments, and it does genuinely help me if you subscribe and comment and engage and give me a thumbs up, because that helps YouTube to know that this is useful stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.